aren't you? No need to run. We don't want anyone to break anything. It's okay. But this is the moment you do have to sit down and be quiet. We don't want cross Hillary coming out. She gets enough of that having teenage sons, let me tell you. Oh, you did quieten down very quickly. Okay, so we'll just get everybody to sit down. No, that's good. Now's not a good time to get up. Just stay where you are. That's great. Well, I can smell from that gorgeous aroma in the room that everybody enjoyed their bane. It smells delicious. Do remember to pace yourselves, though, because there is still dessert and, of course, cheese to come. Now, we have met our 17 finalists, and now it is time to meet our 5 category winners. But before we do, the judges, whose job I know is one that I certainly don't think anyone envies, want to make special mention and commend one of our very, very talented finalists. He is Craig Piggott of Halter, who very clearly made a big impression on them. Craig is the guy who left Rocket Lab to pursue his dream of creating the halter collar for cows. It was fascinating, wasn't it? And this is what the chair of the judges wanted you to know.
It's very early days for Craig and too soon for us to make him a category winner. But halter is fabulous and a quintessential Kiwi concept that could revolutionise the way dairy farming happens in New Zealand and indeed the world. Bill Day, Chair of the Judges.
Now that is a young man with a very bright future, but I do wonder if I could possibly get one of those collars for an errant co-host, because I think Jeremy looked lovely in that and I'd love to see him walking around in circles. Please don't tell him if you bump into him. Okay, time to meet our first category winner. She is based in Wellington, but the ingredients that make up her products are sourced from all over New Zealand, and her products end up all over the world.
Elizabeth Barbalich, Antipodes, New Zealand. Our category winner for products.
New Zealand nature it's a luxury. It's an amazing environment, but it's not key to actually competing on a global stage. To compete with other brands internationally, you have to perform better. So 80 to 100% of every product is made from New Zealand ingredients, and we get whatever we can from this environment. And when we're looking at a new product, for example, to bring onto the market, we research international brands and we look at how do we create that product utilising the best of New Zealand nature. So it's about keeping it as local as possible. From launching the brand, it was very much turnkey, going to the marketplace and giving the interpretation we were bigger than we were. We were just a tiny little brand with 7 products to start with. And it's highly competitive. Highly, highly competitive, and you have to be prepared to take a lot of knocks. It's really hard to get in front of people. You have to push really hard. I've had to chase buyers around trade shows. I've left gifts in their hotels. I've kind of been reasonably tenacious with getting Antipodes in front of these key people. But it's tough. You have to be really pushy. You can't sit here and think the market will come to you. The market does not come to you. You've got to get out there and make it happen. Our customers are women who are making smart, intelligent choices. They're looking for skincare that makes a difference to their skin, makes their skin look healthy for their age. And the women who are looking for a lifestyle of health and sustainability, they're not purists, they're not hippie, they're hip, they're cool, they're fashionable, they're looking for better choices, they're wanting a healthy lifestyle for them and for their families. We're in more than 20 countries. But the key markets for us are Australia, China, Southeast and North Asia, and the UK. Australia is very much based on offline retail channels who dominate the market. So China, for us, at this point, is all through cross-border e-commerce, which is an online strategy. So that itself has massive challenges around that. So they're 2 very different marketplaces, and you have to approach each market strategically in a very different way. At every step there's been huge kind of hurdles to climb over in terms of competitors and how they see you, market regulations, like a number of New Zealand ingredients we have may not be registered in different markets, so we've had to ensure they can get registered. So there's been challenges there, making sure we were trademarked and we could actually access the markets we wanted to. It takes time to create the different formulas that are going to go forward to the lab, and then you may or may not get the result that you are anticipating on getting. So if you don't get the result for the claim that you're making for the product, that formula is mothballed and you have to start again. You know, in 10 years from now, retail, as we know it, is going to be very, very different to how it is now. All around the world, people are moving to an online purchasing model. Offline retail will exist, it will just look different in its format. So my view is offline will be more experiential, and it will be more of an offline to online strategy. So people will use retail as a way to experience the products and then buy online through that retailer. But it's going to be quite a different experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth Barbaras winning in the products category. And to present the awards to Elizabeth when she makes it up the yellow carpet will be our award judge, Rajna Patel.
Now's the time for karaoke, turns out. That's wonderful. Congratulations, Elizabeth. Let's talk about your business, because it's such an exciting business. And China is a big market for you, as you said in the video, but it's simply not a case of turning up with a suitcase and going, here I am, is it? How did you do it?
China is, it's a really exciting market. It's really challenging, it's difficult, but I think at the end of the day you have to have a clearly defined strategy. But at the same time you have to be super agile if you're moving into China. And my belief is if you want to work in a market, bring the market to you. So we have brought a number of Chinese people into our business in Wellington. We really understand how they think, how they buy, what their behaviours are, and I think that's key really to understanding that marketplace.
Super smart. The other thing that happens in China, of course, is that they require testing on animals. How do you deal with that?
So we don't test on animals. Animals don't use skincare. So we use a cross-border model into China, which means that we send our product into free trade zones, we send our product into bonded warehouses, and we work really closely with large platforms like Tmall, VIP, and really close relationships with those platforms to push our product through.
Fantastic stuff. Congratulations again. We'll let you get your award and have a lovely photo. Looking gorgeous, lovely photo. Careful down the stairs. No accidents on my watch. Yes. Okay, well, we're heading to Auckland for our next profile. Well, actually, Auckland isn't quite right. We're heading everywhere, on every road across Australasia. Now, in the same way that Uber disrupted the taxi industry, our next winner threw a spanner into the engine of the trucking industry in Australasia. But he has global ambitions.
Chin Abewikrama of NetLogix, our category winner for services.
When we started, we had 35 plus transport companies connected to our network. And today we have 400 plus transport companies in our network across Australasia. Some days we may be moving more than 1,500 truckloads a day, and it's all happened in this office. Without technology, we cannot operate at that scale. There's inefficiency of phone calls, whiteboards, etc., will not be able to generate the value that we are generating today. It is a virtual transport company. We built the technology platform, but individual functional components was off-the-shelf product. Because we didn't invent the technology. We used the technology to make the business model. Our customer base is quite broader, so therefore how we generate efficiency for the customer as well as the transport company is to work with them to plan their loads better and route their trucks in a way they can actually tap into other cargoes on our network. By doing that, they get a better loads that results in the lower cost, which actually is shared between the customer and the transport company and us, and that's how we make our margin as well. is one access point to unlimited options. Within that, they have the freedom to move. The transport companies also then actually move to another freight corridors where they actually has much better benefit. So it allows to everyone to self-select, self-organize within a larger network. Therefore, everyone actually play to their strengths. Today, we have access to more than 10,000 trucks through 400 transport companies to deliver customer products over 39,000 individual freight corridors. So it's quite a significant network that we managed to build over the last 5 years without investing on a single truck. Not only that, we are utilizing existing transport companies to deliver those products. So we're not actually adding more trucks and adding more inefficiency into the market. Transport company get better loads, the customer get the lower cost and a better service. And also by doing that, you also have the way that we do it and use the technology, it has less trucks on the road. The less congestion, reduce carbon emissions, the community benefit from that as well. So, it's a solution that everyone wins, and hence we are one of the fastest growing logistics companies in Australasia.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chin Abawakrama winning in the services category. And to present the award, EOY judge, Linda Jenkins. I've been everywhere, man, across the desert bare, man, I breathe the mountain air, man, I travel, I've had my cheer, man, I've been everywhere. Yeah, well, tell me, have you been?
Dubious music, I'm sorry about that. Congratulations, Chin. Look, I love it. A trucking company with no trucks. You've conquered Australasia. Where to next?
I think you mentioned a president that know a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think I'm one of them. So our next step is actually US. US is a $1.4 trillion transport market with $1.3 million transport companies, and 90% of those transport companies own less than 5 trucks. So same model, same concept. We believe huge opportunity for New Zealand company in US there.
That's very exciting. And tell us, yeah, that does deserve a round of applause. So you're working in trucking now. Is there an application perhaps in shipping?
Oh, funny you asked that, because
I know.
I thought we were secretly working on that, but yes, we have been working on quite a significant large-scale venture in the last stages of seeing the daylight. We're hoping to get into shipping, and we're already in warehousing and other parts of segments, so this is actually our next step, yeah.
Well, congratulations. It's wonderful news. Time to get your award and have a photo.
Thank you.
Don't they look lovely? Nothing more embarrassing than posing in front of 1,000 people. Now, just a reminder, all of our 5 category winners are in the running for the overall title. All of them came to Auckland yesterday for the final round of judging, and of course, they are here in the room this evening. And indeed, this is the very first time that they get to see their video profiles, so no doubt they will be watching the big screen very carefully right now. It is our next recipient, and we are staying in Auckland for our next winner. His business has its roots in technology that many people find quite difficult to get their heads around, moi included. It is called blockchain, but the driver for our winner is not a cryptocurrency. It is all about creating a business that has far more to do with making the world a better place than making money.
Aaron McDonald, Centrality Investments, our category winner for technology and emerging industries.
Blockchain's been a very hot topic, and there's no doubt that we kind of hit the timing right with what we were doing. So the way that we build the software means that the application, the infrastructure, is run by the community. So rather than a company building an app and sitting it in the Amazon cloud and then controlling every aspect of that, we say, here's some software, a protocol or a decentralized application. It's out here in public, it's open source, And the community can see that, they can innovate on top of it, they can help contribute to its development, and they can set the rules that govern how that application works. If the application promises to never sell your data to a third party, it'll be obvious to everyone if that promise is broken. And actually they have the chance at that point just to pick it up, fork the code, and go off with the version that kept its promise. And so blockchains allow us to create these environments where anyone can come and participate in the system. The people in here are mostly developers, so they're building software for applications either directly on our platform or as part of our ecosystem. So it's not quite the same as a normal business model where you're looking for cash flow or profit or those kinds of things as your key drivers. You're looking for this network effect that creates a community of people that want to innovate and see value in the assets inside of that platform. We're just trying to kind of be the first stage booster rocket of something that has its own trajectory in life, about creating a more competitive capitalism. So you're still going to have winners and losers, and there still needs to be an economic incentive to participate in those economies. It's just that the wealth that's created is spread more equally amongst the participants. Humans are selfish by nature, and we just feel like in the end, if a consumer has the choice to go with a decentralized system which they're treated fairer and have better economic outcomes in versus a centralized one where they don't, where's the consumer going to go? They're going to go to the one that's fairer for them. Where do you want to build your business? You want to build your business where customers are. And as we go further into the future, data being one of the most valuable commodities in the world, if we're not the owners of that commodity, just like we haven't been the owners of oil or gold or any of these things that have been valuable for society, they've been owned by corporations and controlled by those corporations. If we're not the owners of the new gold, digital gold, then we're going to be in the same position as we are now, and probably worse. The influence that these technologies have on society is far beyond anything we've ever experienced in human history. The ability to influence the way you think so subtly that you don't even know that it's happening exists in the hands of a very small number of people. The ability to communicate freely and share ideas freely and create freely without necessarily having an overbearing government censoring that information or that communication. Beyond that, as this technology gets more and more sophisticated, who do you want to be in control of that? Do you want us as citizens and everyday people, or do you want a few small number of corporations that are the ones that are writing the rules? I mean, I hope we get to the point in the next couple of years where we've created something that's self-sustaining, that the community controls and develops and creates in its own right. That's success for me, that we've got a vibrant community that's developing inside of this ecosystem. We've always had this mantra of creating not one unicorn, but 1,000 zebras, 1,000 successful businesses that can operate harmoniously inside of this environment. And create the next generation of entrepreneurs that are out there creating a better world and a more equal society for everybody.
Aaron McDonald, winning in the Technology and Emerging Industries category. And to present the award, the OY judge, Vaughan Russ.
The sound of the men working on the chain gang. All day long they're saying, "Ooh."
Don't rush. I know what it's like. Well, congratulations. That is just absolutely fantastic. I do think I get it a Bitcoin better than I did before. But is that one of the frustrations with your business, that people don't understand?
Yeah, look, it can be a bit frustrating, but it's really exciting for a few reasons. One, you're doing something new, and if you're doing something new, you might be onto something. If you're doing something that everyone already understands, maybe that's not so innovative. I think the second thing is that, like the Ernst & Young survey said earlier today, people's perceptions change over time. I've been a nerd for all my life, and I used to have to explain how the internet worked, or how email worked, or how smartphones worked, or how cloud computing worked, and now people just get it. So I think in the future we won't need to have those frustrating conversations.
That's good news for those of us who take a while to click. Is blockchain, would you say, a kind of digital socialism?
Look, I think it has the potential to take the best elements of socialism and the best elements of capitalism and put together. If you do really well in this space, you have great game theory that incentivizes greed, but in a way that benefits the community.
Fantastic stuff. Congratulations. We'll let you get your award and have a photo. Where's the camera? The camera's over here. Fabulous. And please do take your time down the stairs. Do not rush. Slowly. Yeah. Always never rush. Right. I hope everybody is keeping up. If you have children or grandchildren, nieces or nephews, then I'm probably guessing you're familiar with some of the offerings from our next category winner. But as you're going to find out, there's a lot more to him than just toys. When you hear just a little bit about his story, you're going to struggle with the fact that he is the winner in the young section.
Nick Mowbray of Zuru is this year's Young Entrepreneur.
We rented our first little factory spot in a place called Function Dao Dao, which was basically a tin shed in China. It took a while, so we started making our hot air balloon, and then we realised that through regulation we couldn't really sell it to any major retailers around the world because it didn't pass any safety testing. So we were like, oh, we better start coming up with some new products. You have to get resourceful. So what I started doing in those early years is I thought, well, if we're not making very good toys ourselves, let's go out to companies in other markets that are good at making toys, but they're not maximising their distribution globally. So I started going to different American companies that were developing good toys, but had limited distribution. And I started cutting deals with them. Didn't really have the distribution set up. Kind of fake it till you make it. Along the way, we had quite a few early hits. We had lines like Zeebies, where we sold 10 million of them globally. And we had Schnooks, which was this huge global hit. And then we had RoboFish, which really put us on the map. Took us well over 100 million in revenue. You know, yeah, Bunch of Balloons really did take us to that whole other level in that it's been the #1 selling toy in North America for 3 of the last 4 years. So now we have probably 20 core brands in the business that are all really strong. And I always sort of had in the back of my mind, I'd love to attempt, you know, a few FMCG, fast-moving consumer good products. A friend of mine, Grant Taylor, who I went to school with, had sort of said, oh, look, I'm building this nappy, and they were selling it online. He showed me the product and kind of ticked all the boxes in that P&G and Kimberly-Clark were delivering no margin to the retailer, and that we could go in and solve the commercial retailer's problem by giving them an exclusive brand, by delivering them way more margin, and then driving huge social and digital targeted media at mums to say, hey, here's this new nappy brand, it's cool, it's trendy, it's relevant, it's got no nasties, we use sustainable pulp, it's got all of these things that they care about, and drive all this marketing around it, and then help solve the retailer's commercial problems from a gross margin standpoint, driving foot traffic to that retailer. We launched it with foodstuffs, with Pack and Save and New World in New Zealand. It's been just this phenomenal success. I think it's their biggest private label, private brand launch in history, by I think 4 times in sales. We're basically taking the brand global. So from a year ago it was doing $0 in sales to now we're gonna probably reach 100 million in the first year and a half or so. The toy company, we've mainly centralised, built out of Asia, and we have 17 offices around the world. At the end of the day, it's still my brother, my sister and I, we're still New Zealanders, we still spend a lot of time back here, so we still really do associate as a New Zealand company. We have so many New Zealanders in the business as well. So our whole mindset was, how do we become more profitable? How do we make this business more efficient? How do we drive return on any investment we make? How do we drive ROT, or return on our own time? That's why I always think big and try and work with the biggest customers. And so it just forces you to really think about how to be profitable all the time. And I think as soon as you start taking other people's money and getting investment, you don't necessarily treat that money as the same way as you would your own as well. So I think it just forces you to really, really think about all your decisions. And for us, it literally meant we lived off no money for years and years and years. I think entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Mowbray, winning in the young category. And to present the award, EOY judge and a former chair of the EOY judging panel, Anne Norman.
Congratulations, Nick. Fantastic result. There's so much apparently from your interview that we just saw there that was really interesting that didn't make it into the final cut that I want to talk about. So many products, but what was the first big breakthrough and how did you happen upon it?
Probably the first big breakthrough, I think, was when I was 19 or 20 and we were working on this Tamagotchi. It was a soccer game player and we were working with a UK company on it. And it was sort of, I remember we were getting sort of the Manchester United or Chelsea license for it, but it was at the same time as David Beckham was moving to the US to play football for the LA Galaxy. So I got to thinking, I was like, what if I could get the David Beckham license, get it for this soccer Tamagotchi, and sell it to Walmart? So I went over to the UK and I met Simon Fuller, who started American Idol. I think I was 19 or 20. And convinced him, and he said, well, it will cost you $1.5 million to get the license for Beckham. And I said, fine, don't worry about it. So I got on a plane, went to the US, saw Walmart, and I think they placed an order for, it's still probably the single biggest order we've got for one product today. They placed an order for $29 million for this David Beckham Tamagotchi product. It sounds good there, it turned pear-shaped. So they placed this order, and then I was like, shit, we have to work out how to make it. Like, how do we make it? We don't know how to make any product. We didn't barely know how to make a toy at that point. We were just sort of working on it. I'm like sitting here with this $29 million order. So I go back to China, and I'm like, well, how are we going to do this? And I'd met earlier a guy called Francis Choi, who was the biggest OEM or contract toy manufacturer in the world, also Hong Kong's fourth richest man. So I went to him, and I said, Francis, I've got this massive order. Could you make it for us, and could you pay for it as well? And he said, sure, if you transfer the irrevocable LC, letter of credit, over to me, then we'll make this order. So I said, great. So we start making these 2.2 million pieces. So he goes and buys all the PCBs and LCD screens and all the components. And then Walmart decides to cancel 1.2 million pieces. And I thought, shit, it's a problem. And it was quite funny because Francis has a son called Carson, and I'd read earlier that Carson had been kidnapped as a 16-year-old, but I knew he was safe because this is some years later and he was 21, and I'd been at dinner with Francis one night and I said, Francis, whatever happened to Carson's kidnappers? Because I knew he was safe. And he turned to me and he goes, Nick, very short trial, and his own private security decal had caught these, you know, the people that had kidnapped him. So I'm sitting there going,
this has taken a turn.
I know, sorry. So I'm sitting there going, I've got $13 million that he's financed, and I really don't want to tell him that Walmart's cancelled all the pieces and he's gone and made them all. So anyway, I've kind of worked out at this point that if we can still make about 800,000 pieces, we can still make like good money. But then Walmart comes back to me again and they cancel more pieces, all the way down to 300,000 pieces of the 2.2 million. So we were going to make huge losses, well he was, not me. And so I was flying back and forward over to Walmart trying to convince them, basically begging for my life, that they needed to increase the order back up to 800,000 or 900,000 pieces, which they in the end decided to do. But it gets a lot worse because the buyer, I still remember her name, Danielle Pribenow, she got fired for ordering too many in the first place. Her fiance, it could be made into a movie, her fiance also worked at Walmart, got hit by a truck cycling to work the same week and got killed. So that made it even more interesting. And then we ended up shipping all of this product, and then it never sold, like at all. It was like concrete on the shelf. Like we couldn't sell like a single piece. It was a disaster. So that was our first sort of big start.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I really thought that would have a happy ending. But thank you so much for that lovely anecdote, Nick.
I don't know if that was our first hit, but it was our first big deal.
Yeah, no, it made an impact to all of us. Well, we better let Anne give you your trophy there, and we'll have a lovely photo. Wow. We should be grateful he's still alive, to be honest. Oh, man. That was a brilliant yarn. You know, Not many people in the world have yarns like that. I don't know. Well, we have met, ladies and gentlemen, 4 out of 5, which only leaves this year's winners in the Master category. And this year, we've a husband and wife team. Now, this isn't the first time that they've entered. They made it through as finalists a few years back, and they couldn't spell then either. Clearly, this time around, they are speaking the judge's language. You know what I mean. Anyway, because if you know what they do, you will know what kind of business they're in. But you don't know yet, so watch the video, and then you'll know.
Grant and Merrin Straker of Straker Translations, this year's winner in the Master category.
Basically, I'd been in the army, I left the army, came back to New Zealand, studied engineering, was working for an engineering company where I had to do, needed some programs to make life easier, so I wrote them using Excel, and then I realised that I couldn't solve all the problems, so I kind of looked under the hood.
I guess Grant's he's the tech and the ideas and the sales drive, and I'm the person that's had to make it work.
Yep, so basically we were getting asked to plug translation workflows into our, what was then a multilingual content management platform, and we looked and thought maybe we could build an app, if you like, that we could sell to translation companies. So when we looked at that, we could see that, one, the companies we would try and sell to were just totally technology agnostic. I mean, we would turn up to conferences to test the theory, and we were like Uber turning up to a taxi conference. Like, it was crazy. They just didn't get that machines and humans would work together on this. We could see that the way that we should commercialise our innovation was actually by becoming a translation agency and using the technology we'd built.
In the early days, some blessed Australian with a son in jail in Thailand for having been caught with scales and drugs on the steps outside of a corner shop. But, you know, for that, we had to translate some documents. He'd had poor legal advice, and that father was desperate. And so I think if you stand back, it's easy to say, OK, here's my document in this language, it serves a medium purpose, it achieves some structural requirements or compliance stuff, but it's not actually about that. It's actually about being able to preserve languages, value them, and respect cultures that exist with them.
Yeah, this is machine augmenting humans, basically. The day I think that we really knew we were making it was when we were producing exactly the same quality as everybody else in the industry, but going faster. And that's when we started to know that we were really onto something quite significant.
We're selling a service, we're using technology, we're using crowdsourced translators from all over the world, and we have a follow the sun kind of methodology with our officers, so we can provide that ongoing support for our clients no matter what time of day they place their order.
You know, it's the sum of all the parts that give you a really efficient business model. So when, you know, for us, there are probably 20 moving parts going on across our whole platform, and we are refining each part of that all the time. Now, if one part of it makes a translator go 3% faster, that may correlate to us to a 3% margin gain because of the speed increase. But it is the sum of all those parts that makes it very hard to replicate as well, because you're constantly developing on an ever-evolving engine and platform. But you have a core purpose, and the core purpose for us is to build one platform that everyone in Straker works on around the world, and as we acquire companies, it's one platform that we work on, which makes it easy for us to scale from New Zealand.
And we think it's important that we contribute to the economy here, we contribute to the employment side of things here, and it's important to build large New Zealand companies from New Zealand and prove that it can be done. If we want to change our reliance on agriculture and all those traditional models, then you need companies like ours to actually do that.
So as machine learning and humans all start to work together in all sorts of different content spaces, I see us being an absolute major player in that.
So that's Grant and Merrin Straker winning in the Master category. And to present the award, the chair of the EOY judges, Bill Day.
Sorry, I've got to take a moment. Congratulations first and foremost, but can I just ask what that music was, Nigel? As people have been coming up, you may notice that there's been a bit of a theme that suits them. But that music, Nigel, what are you doing there, Dale?
was Commander Straker's theme from the British TV series of the 1970s, UFO.
I've got it. Straker, Straker. I get it.
I've done a trade show in a silver suit and a purple wig, as of the UFO TV show. And our servers used to be called Moonbase and I don't know what the hell it would start with. And our emails used to be shadowcms.com, which is Supreme Headquarters Alien Defence Organisation. So there's history. We know it.
I love it. I love it. Hey, with various apps like Google Translate, things like that are in the marketplace, there's always going to be a need for humans in the art of translation, isn't there?
Absolutely. We don't do what we do without the humans. We just involve the machines to make the humans go faster. And AI is never going to take over because effectively there's context and machines don't understand context, and that's a big and a huge part of providing an accurate translation.
Fantastic. I feel like I've just monopolised time with your lovely wife. Do you have anything to add?
No, I should have just said full stop when she's about entrepreneur. Should have stopped.
Nailed it. Love it. Well, I'll let you get your award and have a photo. Fantastic stuff. I'm sure most people in the room have used Google Translate. The last time I used Google Translate, it was not a good experience. I was in China, wasn't feeling well. And I tried to say to Siri, got Siri out, I said, I really am desperate to sit. To sit. Anyway, as I say, that didn't go well. And it wasn't pretty. Now, we have met our 5 very worthy category winners. And maybe you've picked an overall winner, maybe you've got some thoughts, you might have an idea. Something that is quite fun, that I have done in the past, is have a little wager. Have a sweepstake on your table, pick a winner, maybe put 20 in the middle. Some of you maybe are used to putting, no need to talk about it. Oi, stop it. It's not time to talk. You'll get cross Hillary in a minute. So you might like to have a little wager, but some of you maybe want to chuck your keys in the middle too. That's another little game. They play it on the shore, I'm told. It's... Anyway, as we have heard, oh goodness me, you've got all noisy on me, hush. As we have heard, the New Zealand Entrepreneur of the Year will be heading off to Monaco in June of next year to represent New Zealand at the World Entrepreneur of the Year Awards, and we will follow them every step of the way. And all of the stories that you've seen tonight will be up on the EY website in the next few days, so keep an eye out for them, except we will not be uploading the spelling. Do not worry, that was just a little laugh for us to have tonight. Right, it is time for dessert when we come back to very special awards, and of course the big one, who will be the EY New Zealand Entrepreneur of the Year? That is all still to come.